Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. This is Parker from Telcoin. Really excited to have you. Um, just want to start off by going through some questions that everyone asked. Actually, first we're going to start off with a little Uniswap recap. Um, Over the last month, we've been doing a liquidity mining program on Uniswap. Actually, I'm having some technical difficulties here. Give me a second. There's a 15-second lag. So, all right. Anyways, thanks for joining me, everyone. I'm excited to share what we've been working on over here at Telcoin and answer any questions that you all might have. I'm going to start off by doing a little recap of the past month's Uniswap liquidity mining program. Then I'm going to circle back to questions that were asked by community members over the past week. And then you can really ask me anything you'd like. Really excited about what we're building over here, and just can't wait to get it to market and take this technology and the Telcoin platform to a global user base that uses it every day and really needs the type of services that we're bringing to market. So yeah, just going to start off here by going through what I'm going to release tomorrow. So this is a Google Doc, and it'll be on Medium tomorrow, but I wanted to share a little surprise with everyone that decided to join tonight. So just want to do a little recap here. Over the past month, if you're not familiar, we've been doing a liquidity mining program on this financial platform called Uniswap. And essentially, what that means is Telcoin holders can stake their TEL with Ethereum and create markets that users can trade against, and they earn trading fees for doing that. And so we're going to incorporate this Uniswap pool into our application, and we have a ton of literature out there on this. But essentially, what we're doing right now is incentivizing people to create markets for Telcoin and make them more liquid, so that our end user product, which the first one is remittances, costs less for the end user. So what's really exciting about where we are with Uniswap right now is that today, as an example, it was the most heavily traded market with the tightest spreads in the world for Telcoin. And why is that important? It essentially means that Telcoin holders who decide to stake their assets on Uniswap, traders trade against them and they earn trading fees. Well, generally in financial markets, what you see is a company like the New York Stock Exchange is going to take in trading fees for their markets, and so is so are all of the Robin Hoods of the world. And what we're doing here on Uniswap is essentially having TEL holders earn the trading fees, and now they earn more trading fees than the largest exchange in the world did for Telcoin today. So that's a really exciting improvement. It's a completely sort of novel innovation that's native and sort of enabled by this space, and it's really exciting because it's so new. So yeah, it's a really great step, a great month. When we first started the program on September 1st, there were 8 liquidity providers. That grew almost 300% to 29 liquidity providers on Uniswap. We started at $75,000 of liquidity, and today there's $135,000 of Telcoin liquidity on Uniswap that's being traded against on a daily basis, in which Telcoin users are actually earning the trading fees from. This has increased the USD value of Telcoin on Uniswap has increased every single week, despite a 30% plus crypto market-wide drawdown. And that's really exciting because, as I said before, it's the most liquid market in the world for Telcoin, and that value is being returned to Telcoin investors and holders. The liquidity from the Telcoin perspective went from 95 million TEL to 283 million TEL, increasing 3 out of the past 4 weeks. And what's also really exciting is that all 19 of the first week's miners that staked for the entire month, or all 19 of the first week's miners actually staked for the entire month. So they didn't move their TEL. They stayed within the program, and that means that it's really sticking for what I would consider the sort of TEL power users. And um, you know, interestingly, Uniswap itself actually launched a token. They did a sort of retroactive distribution of the asset that sort of lets people govern Uniswap. And so we're going to do the same thing today, and we're actually going to reward all 19 of those Telcoin liquidity providers with 2.5 million Tel equally distributed. So over September, 25 million Tel is going to be over October. 25 million Tel is going to be rewarded to the miners that participated last month. So that's not chump change. That's $5,500 for essentially just holding Ethereum and TEL and earning trading fees. And it really, as I said, it creates real value for Telcoin and for TEL holders because it creates more liquid markets where people can buy TEL with at much lower costs from their mobile phone, as an example, without relying on any sort of financial institution. So, we're gonna, we've really seen some awesome rewards go out over the past month, and that's really grown. So the average rewards for the first distribution, there were 8 miners, and each the average rewards for them were 312,000 TEL, and then really just saw a solid sort of month of growth from 8 all the way to 29 miners and $135,000 of liquidity. So yeah, it's been really exciting to watch the Telcoin community come together and build real markets for TEL holders and for potential TEL buyers, where they actually earn the income rather than some sort of exchange out there that is in a way sort of taking rent. So we're really sort of returning value to the TEL holders by making these markets better. And that's exciting because at the end of the day, ideally we want to create the best possible user experience for Telcoin, actual users who are sending money across the world. And the more liquidity that is in these pools, the less costly that it is for the end user. And so, you all who participate in this and who will continue to do that, are really providing a valuable service to TEL and to the potential user base. And so we've decided to continue the liquidity mining's rewards for the next month at least. In general, this is sort of an experiment where we're trying to figure out how much rewards are required to make the most liquid markets possible. And so we've decided to continue the Uniswap one. And we're also, if you've been paying attention, going to launch the Balancer liquidity mining program. And so this last week, we launched a new pool on this other exchange that's competitive with Uniswap called Balancer. And there was one pooler earlier this week, and now there's 21. So all 21 of you, if whoever pooled before 4:30 p.m. today, is also going to share equally in 2.5 million TEL, which will be distributed next month. So yeah, congratulations to everyone who's really been the sort of TEL power users that are making more efficient markets for TEL, and we're excited to see this continue. So now I want to jump into a few questions here. Thanks everyone for reaching out. We love the community and we appreciate all of your support, and we're really excited to start to get this to market. I hope that for those of you who saw the roadmap, I imagine some of you might think, well, that is pretty aggressive. Well, we're pretty confident that we can hit those targets, and honestly, I think that we can do even better than that. And so we're really looking forward to this next year where we can build some awesome products and ship them to market, and really create a product that hundreds of millions, if not eventually billions of users get a lot of value out of and use every day. So I'm just going to go through the questions here. Once again, thanks for asking, and then I'll jump in and go to the YouTube channel and host some of your other questions there. So the most recent one was will TEL get listed on the drop-down UI of Balancer, which is the kind of the front end where you can select Telcoin as an option from a drop-down box. And what's pretty awesome is that we have been listed on there. We went through round 14 of the whitelisting process this week. Telcoin was proposed, and it was passed. So now TEL poolers not only are going to receive TEL rewards for providing liquidity on Balancer, they're also going to receive Balancer rewards, which is the sort of governance token of the platform, which enables you to essentially make and propose different changes or additions or improvements on this platform that in the way that you earn those tokens, these governance tokens, is by providing liquidity, creating more efficient markets. And the Balancer governors basically decided that Telcoin is a worthwhile project that they want to have essentially the users, the liquidity providers of Telcoin earn Balancer rewards. So you have this dynamic, which is totally native and interesting, probably one of the most exciting things to me about this space, where the users end up actually owning the things that they use. They own the platform. So it's kind of like if the early Facebook users who created awesome posts and got all of their friends to join earned equity in a sense in Facebook. And now it's not really equity, but there are some characteristics where it may indeed sort of capture value. And the reason I say, by the way, that it's not equity, that there's no company, there's no Balancer company. Balancer is a protocol. It's a marketplace. It's a sort of infrastructure that exists on Ethereum that the users earn governance tokens in. And so TEL holders, TEL poolers, anyone who contributes to the TEL 80/20 pool is now going to essentially be an owner of the Balancer platform. You can sort of imagine a world where TEL power users own major governance rights over these really useful and valuable income-producing marketplaces. And it's a similar sort of dynamic with Uniswap, where if you pooled on Uniswap the other day before September 1st, then you receive the governance tokens of Uniswap, which today are even 400 of them today. It's $1,600 just for using the platform. So we're seeing this sort of situation where these new internet protocols that are super useful, sort of financial infrastructure layers, the users of them are starting to own them. And so it's exciting that Telcoin traders and investors on that platform who use it every day are now becoming the owners of it. So I have another question here from Reformed Idiot. For the Balancer liquidity mining event, are we going to have to submit our Balancer as address as well if it is different from Uniswap? If it's different, yes, please do. And tomorrow when I release the Balancer and Uniswap recap, the Balancer liquidity mining program and the Uniswap recap over Medium, I will post the address there for where you can whitelist your address. Then we have Telfam Doggo. As Telcoin is working hard to bootstrap liquidity through DEXs, I wonder what happened to the planned liquidity fund of 5 billion Telcoin as stated in the white paper. Are there still 5 billion TEL allocated to act as a liquidity fund? And the answer is yes. The 5 billion TEL liquidity fund is still present and is very much so in our plans to create more efficient liquid markets. I'm really excited about some of the innovations that are happening around this that are going to make sure that we have liquid markets for remittance users. And Paul has some exciting things planned for that. But equally as important to the remittance flow is that we sort of bootstrap liquidity from existing TEL holders and create more efficient markets because you have a really you know a dynamic where you have these sort of a self-sustaining pool of assets where the users can capture value in trading fees, and that's directly going to be from remittance users and buyers of TEL. So from Blaverton, mate, wondering if you or the team have a plan to equally distribute liquidity into both Uniswap and Balancer, or will one be the primary? Cheers. Cheers to you as well, Blaverton. Yes, we're definitely going to prioritize both. We're still experimenting and in the very early stages of figuring out how to optimize these systems. So we're taking the data from the current liquidity mining programs to figure out how to properly incentivize liquidity in an additive and sustainable way that builds durable value for TEL, the Telcoin platform, and rewards long-term stakers and TEL holders for providing the value of creating more liquid TEL markets. So it's definitely safe to say that both of these are priority and will serve as a really key infrastructure layer for the Telcoin platform. Both Uniswap and Balancer, as I've touched on a lot, are these sort of constantly evolving user-owned platforms that have really extraordinary value propositions and use cases, and I expect over time them to get much better. And to put that in context, Uniswap's annualized trading volume at the beginning of 2019 was $10 million. At the beginning of this year, the annualized trading volume on Uniswap was $1 billion, and now today it's closer to like $90 billion annualized trading volume. So you have this sort of 10,000x increase in volume, and they continue to sort of innovate and make these systems better. And so Balancer has some really interesting improvements over Uniswap, I think that there's a place for both of them within the user flow of the application, and really with the goal being get the best possible rate for end users, and so that's why we're experimenting now. From Boo 421, are there plans to add Telcoin support to Xerion, DBank, Zapper, and any other non-custodial DeFi dashboards so you can manage your DeFi portfolio from one place? It would certainly be useful for exchanging, investing, and possibly staking in the future. Yeah, that's a really great and relevant question. It's really funny. So one of the founders of Zapper is a really good buddy of mine. His name's Nodar. We used to call him Nodes. And so we, going back to the ICO days, connected and maybe like a Discord chat or something, and just we're both extraordinarily fascinated with the space, and decided that we wanted to build things. And I think this is Node's like fourth project, and it's really found product market fit. And it's interesting. It's a sort of perfect example of a really hardworking crypto native user building a product from a user first perspective and then working really hard to ship it. So long-winded answer to your question, I spoke with Nodes from Zapper this week, and I'm anticipating that we will be listed on there within the next month or so, or the next couple weeks. It really just is a matter of them pushing that forward. Since they're not an exchange, we're not going to go out and market some sort of like Telcoin Zapper integration, because they really that's not really their sort of style. But I could certainly see a future where we work on products together, and also certainly have TEL pools for staking and for pooling and for swapping available through Zapper. But what's notable about that relationship is that it's not, we're also building an interface, a non-custodial platform for financial services. And I think that Um, there's certainly sort of competitive nature there in that, and with the key difference being we're going after the mainstream mass market customer who doesn't have access to financial services, whereas they're kind of going after the crypto natives who want to yield farm and do all sorts of crazy strategies. I think it's an amazing platform, and I'm really excited about it. I, as I said, I think there's a little bit of competition there. And at the end of the day, we want TEL holders and users to never really have to leave our application and be able to access the full sort of TEL stack of functionality in the same way they do with Zapperify, except our financial services are built around TEL, and as well also have mobile money integrations and fintech integrations, legacy banking. So it's a little different, but once again, long-winded answer to your question. I think we'll be on Zapperify shortly, and I'll jump into the Telegram channel and let everybody know. So from Stephen Moose, with companies like Africa's Patrica blockchain already offering mobile BTC remittances over a year in Africa, how far behind is Telcoin? Well, Africa is a massive marketplace. I don't think anyone is even really close to owning remittances, and certainly no one is close to shipping a full stack financial platform to the underbanked in Africa. As an example, Jeff, who is constantly meeting with African mobile money companies, e-wallets, users, just generally everyone across Africa and APAC who really need a product like Telcoins. He had a discussion with them with someone the other day who is paying 25% on a remittance transaction. I mean, 25% in a country where you have nearly double-digit percentage points of your economy being powered by remittances is potentially billions of dollars, right? And so, just we absolutely think that there is a ton of opportunity in Africa. But on that same note, for anyone out there that is working on a competitive product, we're coming after your business, and we're gonna bring the best possible product to market. So can you please? This is from J Sly Fox. Shout out to Fox. Been a loyal supporter for years, and always has wonderful questions. Can you please share some insight to the remittance model liquidity engine? Will the remittance flow through the DEX liquidity pools, or will each remittance corridor have their own liquidity pool? It depends on the product and the state of the corridor, basically. We're going to be releasing more on this later, and as I said earlier, Paul has some really exciting ideas around the use of the Telcoin, the $5 billion Telcoin liquidity fund, as well as some really innovative ideas around the remittance engine, and I'll let him touch on that shortly. Also from J Sly Fox, you've previously stated one-touch DeFi services will be incorporated into the Telcoin app. What do these initial DeFi services look like, and when do you expect these services to be live? Well, the first sort of answer to that is that generally it's investments, trading, savings, and loans. So when will they be integrated into the app? What do these initial DeFi services look like? Basically, I mean, one of the major sort of innovations that's happening in Ethereum, and that is probably one of the most exciting things that I've seen in my 7 or so years in crypto, is that you now have a developer sandbox for financial services. So for anyone that's not familiar with DeFi, it's basically this stack of financial primitives that are built on Ethereum. And we've had developer sandboxes in gaming for years, and you've seen, if you have an iPhone or an Android, I mean, you've seen just tens and tens of thousands of different interesting games that people ship constantly. Well, you definitely don't see that um, in the same sense with finance at all. Um, and the reason for that is that even these open API banking platforms, those are read-only access. You can't write. You can't sort of integrate and combine different um, sort of financial platforms in the traditional finance world. You can think about DeFi like if um, Robinhood and Stripe and Charles Schwab and all of them essentially um, could combine and interoperate, and you could create these really interesting applications on them. Well, that's what we can do now on Ethereum, and it's an extraordinarily exciting space to be in. Um, so basically, we are planning on bringing the best possible products to market in this space. I think that the beginning is the trading and investing side, and that's why we're really because the first and foremost reason for that is that remittances are our first bread and butter use case, and they are enabled by you can't have a remittance either in the legacy or the traditional finance world without trading. You have to swap currencies and send them, and so we're trying to make sure that we can make that as efficient as possible. Um, and after that, the world really is our oyster right now. We could take any sort of number of these lending and borrowing applications or synthetic asset application where you can protocols where you can essentially create, let's say, tokenized gold without actually having to have gold back it. You the world is really open in terms of the investable universe of what we can build, and I think that it's going to happen, in phases. Right now, as I said, that's the trading and the investing side of it, and then eventually, it'll be a full set of investment, um, say trading, loans, and really just the whole stack of what if you live in the developed worlds, let's say in the U.S., it's you know and you have banking and you have all of those services. We want to be providing those to end users who can't access them, and by leveraging Ethereum and this whole stack of primitives called DeFi, we can essentially do that at a much lower overhead and bring it to market in a really sort of composable combined way. So this is from Israfil Ariubi. When will we have the option of buying Telcoin direct in the Telcoin app worldwide? Well, worldwide wise, we're releasing individual markets at specific times. I think this question was probably sent before today's roadmap, but we're absolutely aiming to be the first global compliant financial services platform that integrates crypto, and that means that we want everyone in the world to be able to buy with a phone, to be able to buy TEL and use TEL denominated services that are just 100x better than what they would be able to get today, both in the legacy sort of developed world and the developing world. So we're I can't say a specific time on when we have the whole world down. I think we have to start with the major markets that we're going after, which are relatively public, but I think we want to release each one of those when we actually have the live product that's in that area. We want to have our work speak for itself, basically. So this is from David, crypto trader. Uniswap and Balancer looks not to have a KYC process. Can this be a hindrance to international money transfer because of compliance? So yeah, we've had a lot of discussions on this. The first thing is that Uniswap and Balancer are not themselves, some company that's custodying a crypto asset that's hosting the orders or any of that. They're just code on the Ethereum blockchain that people use to trade assets, and so a core sort of characteristic of what it means to be a money service business is that you custody customers' assets. And you get things like surety bonds where you have to essentially pay for these bonds that make it so that if you lose their money, there's coverage for that, right? I mean, if there is no real custodian in the middle, and you're just trading, and I mean, the sort of investors and traders in on Uniswap and Balancer, they don't ever lose custody of their assets. So there's not someone that needs to be sort of licensed to do to enable people to trade on it. It's just an open sort of platform on the internet um, that people find useful. And so I think integrating that is I think that there are definitely, you do bring up a good point that following, BSA, KYC, AML laws, that's kind of what our bread and butter is, right? I mean, we want to bring compliant blockchain-based financial services to the mass market, and so that will mean in these corridors that our users are being KYC, AML'd, and that there's all of the various guarantees that governments require, in any market that we're working in. That's definitely top of mind and something that is a core focus. But in terms of, does Uniswap or Balancer break any sort of money transfer laws? No, definitely not. So Roaming asks, is there any plan to make the Uniswap and Balancer rewards program last longer? And yeah, well, we actually just kind of went over that a little bit ago. Just launched the continuation of the Uniswap program that's going to go for at least another month. And then Balancer is just kicking off now. And then the second question is, why not implement staking contracts? Well, that's actually a great question. I completely agree, considering I'm kind of manually handling that right now. Automating that is a wonderful idea, and I think that we're definitely working on it. We've already sort of explored what that means, and just like everything else that is sort of on the crypto product side, we're releasing them at launch in phases, rather than sort of foreshadowing them in advance. We want to have our work speak for itself. So, is it worth whitelisting our balancer address? Yes. If your balancer address is different than your Uniswap one, do whitelist it. But if you've already whitelisted the same address, then you're fine. Can you elaborate more on how liquidity will benefit the ones that added their own tokens and ETH to the pool? Yeah, so basically, there are a few ways right now that people who pool TEL and ETH earn income or value. The first one is trading fees. So traders swap against the assets that you pooled, and you directly earn the trading fees from those. So as volume increases, you earn more, and you earn that as a sort of percentage share of what is pooled. And then, let's see here. The other part is obviously the liquidity mining aspect. On Balancer, you earn BAL tokens now, which is super exciting. And then you also will earn TEL rewards. So that's 5 million a week on Balancer and 5 million a week on Uniswap, with the end goal of creating much more efficient markets. So yeah, I mean, I think that anyone who's actually been participating in these programs, what I would call the TEL power users, is really excited right now because they've been able to essentially own and pool their TEL and earn really great rewards along with trading fees. And I think that's evidenced by the fact that all 19 of the first week's liquidity providers went all 4 weeks and didn't move any of their tokens. It's 100% stick rate for the power users. So surely it would take billions of tokens to be worthwhile. This is going to be used by the mainstream. Well, there's already 600 million TEL staked, and we've been at it for a month. and this is very much the beginning. I think I project that once things are just native to the Telcoin application and it's one click and you don't have to go through any of the complexity to pool, that we should see some really great numbers. But I also think that with Balancer being that you could put just Telcoin into the pool, or you can do 20% ETH and 80% TEL, I think that the barrier to entry is much lower. It's much more inclusive. And it's one of the reasons that I'm very excited about Balancer too. So yeah, yeah. I think another point that I wrote out is that one of the craziest things that I think anyone has seen in financial markets ever is that some of these $10 million market cap coins have 3 basis points or 0.03% slippage on these Uniswap and Balancer pools. That's better than what what large institutional investors are getting for swapping major fiat currencies. 3 basis points. I mean, that's it's kind of hard to even understand how it's possible that you could have a $10 million market cap coin with 3 basis points of slippage. But that's what this stuff enables, and it's really fascinating, exciting, and ideally, we can. I mean, if TEL has a 3 basis point spread, then I mean that is just as good, if not better, than the rates that you're going to get on the largest currencies in the world, and that's really something to be excited about. So hopefully we can push this forward. We can educate users, and we can really get these pools to be super liquid, so that our end users can have really efficient remittances. So Distoxin asked, let's just say hypothetically that Telcoin is 100% operational and already implemented / integrated with many telecom providers. After the above is implemented, how many use cases are available for the TEL token? And the answer to that is as many as are useful for customers and that we can bring to market in a compliant way. As I said, and I touched on this before, we're in a situation where we can build these financial products, leverage global pools of liquidity that anyone can access, and bring them to market. So as long as we're doing that in a compliant way, we would like our end users to have the best possible financial services that they can get. So yeah, but I guess if you have any ideas, just talk on what you think is useful, feel free to reach out. I think that for now, the things that are probably the key first products are remittances is obviously our first one that we want to bring to market, and trading, investments, loans, savings products, and access to real world assets like gold and other things that people might be interested in the developing world. Crypto Blockchain 38 asked, when can we withdraw TEL from KuCoin? I asked them, and I'm waiting on a response. I think generally this hack is a really good example of why these on-chain non-custodial dexes like Uniswap and Balancer are so important. There is no person that can get hacked, that can get your coin stolen. It's simply, you hold your own tokens and can trade and all those things. So, that's, but to answer your question, I'm not sure, but I did reach out to them today, and I'm just waiting on a response. I know that they're starting to open other coins for withdrawal, and I saw that both Bitcoin and Ethereum were also locked off. So, that's kind of the best we have for now. But hopefully it gets resolved shortly. And fortunately, TEL holders weren't affected beyond deposit and withdrawals. Rafael asked, can you please elaborate what does TEL or fiat TEL on ramp and off ramp mean? It means users can buy TEL with their local currency directly from their mobile application, and we plan on really getting those to market as soon as possible because they're an important part of our product. So, Reformed Idiot asks, can you shed more light on the Uniswap and Balancer project? What is the designed outcome? I feel like I answered that already. How are they interacting within the TEL ecosystem? Do these dexes have anything to do with Project Rivendell? Well, Project Rivendell is a code name for a reason. We can't release code name projects um, or really much about them besides something that we're working on. We're really excited and it's major because otherwise it wouldn't have a code name. But um, yeah, I mean, the design outcomes I said is to create more liquid markets for TEL, which will enable us to have much better, more cost effective products, um, especially remittances. And we want to target for as low as possible. So, how are they interacting within the TEL ecosystem? Traders are buying TEL on these exchanges and selling TEL, and investors pool them and earn income. Can I tell you about the new hires? Well, I can tell you that I have never been more impressed than the past few months, where this team has really turned around, pulled together in the face of adversity, and just crushed it. And we went out and found some really solid engineers. We found some really solid compliance executives and banking and FX, and we've added 6 or 7 people in the past few months, and I think they're all really excited, and they're the type of people that we want to bring in, which are um, people that want to build things that can change the world, and that's what we're doing here. And I'm really excited for you to get an intro to him. I don't think that that's my place to publicly intro, but I'm sure over the next week we will. So background, strengths, and anticipated contributions. Yeah, engineering, compliance, FX, banking, um, and yeah, and I think that for now, based off what I've heard, we don't really need anyone else, because we have a full team, and that's great to be. This is definitely the best position that I've ever seen Telcoin in, um, and we're all aggressively working hard to make this mission a reality. So. All right, let's see what other questions you guys have. Do we have a target for user numbers in each corridor as part of the 2021 roadmap? It's not part of the 2021 roadmap, DR. Thanks for asking. Um, but it's definitely, you know, um, we definitely have targets. We know what our projections are, and we're going to continue going after it. Um, but publicly, I think that I mean, one thing that I will say, DR, is that by combining forces with mobile money companies, we're getting access to the users that we're getting access to the largest possible amount of users who really need our service that we could. Um, so, and I think that that's really a big competitive advantage, is that we have the ability to sort of access users that really need our service, a ton of them, and in a way that really makes sense, in terms of these are applications that they use every day. So, let's see what else is in here. Sozin asked, when are week 1 to 4 rewards distributed? Not seen anything in so the rewards distribution starts next week. Are there any other questions here? Let's see. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions. maybe if I pop into Slack here. Okay, here are a couple. Let's see. In terms of partnerships with e-commerce, are there any other large e-commerce companies, Telcoins? Telcoin is in talks with, like, uh, Jumia. I mean, I think that um, you know that's not really my area. So I think if you talk to Jeff, he would be able to give you some insight there. Has Telcoin looked at any layer two solutions such as Magic? We're definitely in um, development mode, trying to figure out exactly how we can make sure that Telcoin is the cheapest, fastest, most affordable um, solution on the market, and we're willing to explore all of the different categories. I think um, that's something that is going to come up later for sure. In terms of other people are going to touch on that with you, such as Paul or Will, who are working on that very closely. But yeah, we recognize that the Ethereum blockchain is kind of slow and congested, but we also think that it has this massive advantage over everything else, and that's where all the real economic activity is happening. There's more fees on Ethereum now than there is on Bitcoin. Um, Far more transactions, tons of use cases, hundreds of thousands of users, if not millions of users. It's really been the sort of thing that I think when I first got in the space, I thought Bitcoin might be. Um, but Ethereum, I think when Bitcoin decided it wanted to be digital gold, Ethereum really picked up the coattails there, and it's just kind of fascinating to watch it all unfold. And um, we're going to continue exploring. I know that optimistic rollups are something that are really interesting, and I think that that's where a lot of the space is going. I also think that there's other types of solutions that the team's exploring that are going to work well. Yes, TEL, the token, is indeed carrying value in multiple transaction flows. It's you know that's what the company is doing, right? We've built a money system that is just faster and instant, that can go anywhere in the world, and our first product is remittances. So certainly TEL will be used in the remittance flow, and that's frankly what we're working to optimize, right? I mean, with Balancer and Uniswap, user A buys TEL, and we want to make sure that that is as cheap as possible, and then sends it, and then user B, sells it. And so that whole process is really what we're optimizing for right now, and TEL, is what we're building that around. And I think also we're building it around as many sort of use cases financially as makes sense. So yeah. When link partnership, when there is a reason, I guess, but I don't think there is right now. I think that some of the infrastructure stack that we might use, perhaps they would use an Oracle solution, but I can't think of any reason why I would have that. But I do know that Base Roger, who you tagged, loves Link and loves to tell me about that. So is this that's in the TEL to fiat scenario mentioned in the roadmap? Um, Confused by what you're trying to ask. Will the Android application will be ready in January 2021? Well, Rade is working on that, and he just started. I just said his name. I'm not sure if he's on LinkedIn. You guys probably already know that because you know everything that happens on Telcoin on the internet. So that's our new Android engineer. He's awesome. Really excited about him. Totally fits in with culture, and he's going to ship the product as fast as possible. As a side note, I think that a ton of our customers are Android users. They're not, there aren't that many iPhone users from what I understand. And, let's say the Philippines, they're really using Android. So it's an important product, and we are working to ship it as fast as we can. Paul alluded to a strategy in the last AMA regarding competition, e.g., from Libra and WhatsApp. Is there anything that you can add to this? Trying to I'm trying to think what specifically you're talking about. I think that you know Libra's kind of been pretty botched up to this point. I think that the money system of the future won't be Zuckbucks and ruled by Mark Zuckerberg, or if it is, that's going to be a strange um, thing to see. So, yeah, hopefully not. But I think we're going to go to market and with a strategy that I think makes the most sense for a token with a fixed supply, and um, we're just going to ship and we'll compete with them on the open market, and I think that we're going to win. So that's why I'm here. When you mentioned Telcoin, the token being used in the TEL to fiat, that relates to the parts of the roadmap where it says TEL to fiat. Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate this, habeas corpus Telcoin, that's a great name. Um, so TEL to fiat, we have on ramps and off ramps in each corridor where users can buy TEL, and they can, on an off ramp, as an example, sell TEL for local currency, and that's what an on ramp is. We have some really awesome, you know, potential integrations that we're working on right now that we think we can get to market with pretty quickly. I can't really tell you specifically who that is because, you have to sign an NDA, and we really released as much as I can really give you in terms of on the roadmap in terms of what specifically do each of those bullet points mean. But yeah, it's definitely really exciting to see the types of potential partner integrations that are happening in the crypto space. These companies that are going to market and definitely wouldn't have existed 5 years ago. So now we're partnering with them, and got it. Speak up. So yeah, as I said, we're partnering with great partners that can help us do fiat on and off ramps, and then eventually we'll probably be doing those ourselves. What other questions do we have? Are marketing efforts still relying on telco partners? Yeah, I mean, we're partnering with companies that where they have hundreds of millions of users, and they use these applications every day, and Telcoin's front and center for accepting remittances and other financial use cases. So absolutely, there's that sort of really awesome approach where it's direct marketing to users in a trusted way. But there's also the developed world side where it's not necessarily going to be people sending through their telcos, let's say the USA. There's a direct to consumer marketing approach that we have some really smart people working on that, both internally and externally, and a ton of experience working on this type of thing. So we're going to get to market, and as you saw on the roadmap, pretty sure it was in there. It's we have different phases of our marketing approach, and we're just gonna get out there and find users and bring them to the Telcoin app. Can you please discuss how the Telcoin leadership is spending their time to bring Telcoin to market? Well, it depends. It depends specifically which leadership, which individual you're talking about. If it's in compliance, then they're doing compliance related things. If they're in sales, then they're going and they're meeting with telecoms. If they're me, then I kind of work on a lot of different things, sort of generalists. My focus right now is really on the TEL ecosystem, as well as partners that can help us get to market. So yeah, I mean it's in this. Basically, what I can tell you is that we're all working really hard, nonstop, around the clock, because it's from from where I'm in, which is St. Louis, to Tokyo, we have people all over the world working. So it really is like a 24/5 operation, and it just depends on what you're working on. Anything you can say on the UK market? Huge potential here for Telcoin. Nick, what makes you say that there's huge potential there? I think that we have a pretty solid plan on the UK market. We don't have any licenses or anything there yet, but I think we do have a solid go-to-market strategy there. But yeah, what specifically? Why do you say there's huge potential there? I'd love to learn from you. Thanks, Foxy. You're the man. Appreciate it. Habeas corpus. Um, Last question. Telcoin article mentioned that Africa had a goal of under 3% remittances, and that by 2030, and that TEL would meet that and beat it 10 years ahead, aka 2020. Is that still the case? I mean, 10 years. Yeah, I think that 2021 is going to be a huge year for us in Africa. And Jeff's Jeff and Paul have made some amazing partnerships there. A number of which haven't been announced. I think one thing you have to remember is that we want to make sure that we when we're going with these partners, we want to be in a position to integrate them immediately. And so we have, I think, a lot of sort of, and Jeff, as I said, can really share more with us about you. Big stud, he's been crushing it. But we have some awesome partners all across Africa that are very close. But we want to make sure that we go and integrate immediately. And so I think that'll be pretty close. Ryan George, we're going to dinner tomorrow night. What are you doing in here? That is hilarious. Sushi Station, right? I'm excited. TZOSIN said, is utilization of the gaming side still another avenue I know is being talked about by Claude? That is definitely not my focus. My focus is on getting financial services to people that need them most, and I don't know that we need that gaming is really any sort of focus of ours right now. I think that long term, once we bootstrap this into a global money system and financial application, that the use cases for that are essentially endless, in the sense that, you think about like a 25-cent transfer, right? That's something that you simply can't do in the regular, traditional financial system. That it costs more than that to do the transaction, and so there's a ton of opportunity for digital assets, cryptocurrencies to sort of solve real problems in the gaming space. But I don't think that is Telcoin in 2020 or 2021. If we really hit our numbers, maybe we can revisit that in 2022. But I think our market, gaming, I think was a $150 billion market. What's the underbanked market? There's like 4.5 billion or something users that don't have real functioning payment capability or financial services at all. That's a couple $100 trillion market that we're talking about. So I would rather go win that first, and then we can talk about the $150 billion gaming market. Let's go, let's go bank the world first, guys. Any updates on past partnerships that were announced? Which ones? How's the license going for the U.S.? We've figured out some really awesome things that are going to be released soon. That's really all I can say about that. Awesome. Yeah, UK to Nigeria, UK to India. Definitely big markets. Dan, our head of compliance, is in the UK, and I think we've got a pretty solid presence there. And we, as I said, we have a good go-to-market strategy. So I'm confident that that's going to, be a market we go after. Thanks for sharing. Zozin, what other things were in the ICO that you haven't seen or interested in? Duncan Black, are you invisible? I can't see you, but I do see that you wrote that. Did you have a question that you asked? Because if so, Will there be another exchange listing soon? Which exchange are you talking about? Which one do you want to be listed on? And yeah, I mean, I think that we're definitely. I mean, I mean, I know for a fact that I could run around and you know get on some centralized exchanges for TEL and make that happen, and it would cost a fair amount of money to do that. But and we're kind of positioned well to do that. Um, but we're also trying to release a product where TEL is, the major sort of component of it, and we want to have the on-chain utility of TEL be present. And something with volume, Uniswap has more volume than like Coinbase. So, um, but yeah, so I mean, we want to make it, we want to make a useful product around TEL, and I think that means we have really solid on-chain mechanics and liquidity that flows directly in the application. And then, I mean, once we have a useful application, then every exchange in the world wants to list us. I think that is probably what needs to be the main priority. I mean, because the priority, like the use case for centralized exchanges is speculation, right? And we're going after utility right now, and so I think that, yeah, I mean, the focus is to make really liquid on-chain markets with a ton of volume, and then everything else will work. Oh, thanks, DR. You're the man or woman. Yeah, I mean, like, by the way, guys, this is my first time doing an AMA video conference, and yeah, hopefully it's going well. All right. Any other questions, guys? Has KuCoin tell you? No, I just went through that, Rihanna. I talked to KuCoin, and I have a message into them, and I'm trying to figure out when they're going to open up withdrawals for TEL. From what I can tell, they don't. They also don't have Bitcoin, Ethereum. I mean, that was. Let's be honest, like that was kind of a shit show what happened over there, and it's a big reason why custodial exchanges are going to eventually be a thing that are not that important, especially for us. I mean, we're trying to build a super useful product um, around TEL and cryptocurrencies, and just generally, you know, that doesn't need a centralized. Like where we're going, we don't need we won't need a centralized exchange. Trust me, I agree. We want to have people be able to get access to it. That want to buy TEL and pool and do all sorts of great things. Um, but I think that we'll definitely get one in the near future. I just would like to be able to walk in and say, look at how awesome our TEL is, our application. You know, um, I want them to come ask us to list them. Now, don't get me wrong, I'll do the work to get whatever needs to be done. But you know, it's not. I think that the goal here is to make a useful product. Um, Community is glad that you are on board the team. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. It really is awesome. What's my favorite part of my job? I am just the biggest. I love cryptocurrency. I love Ethereum. I love building stuff. And I guess what I like about my job is kind of being able to go out and um, you know figure out what's super useful and then build each little part of the building block, put it together, and um, you know come out with an end user thing. I generally like building. I like getting stuff done. I think I definitely prefer like the crypto side and the partnership side to the compliance side. But if you said, Parker, we gotta go do some license stuff or compliance stuff, and count me in. Let's make it happen. So. Do I believe the price of TEL? Can't talk about the price of TEL, and I honestly don't have any sort of like ability to, you know, impact the price of TEL. It's just a something that we're building products around that we think is going to be big, and that we're doing everything we can to work on it. But it's from perspective of is TEL going to go up, all that stuff. I'm not going to talk about that because I don't control it. Telcoin holder, well, Telcoin holders should invest in the ICO. Also, can't really talk about that. Oh, Duncan, I see what you're saying about being invisible. I apologize. Will LPs TEL rewards be sent directly to whitelisted addresses or added to your pool amount? It'll be sent directly to your whitelisted address starting next week. Anything else, guys? Oh, wait. I have one question. Is some form of pin locking ever going to be available for the Android app? So just so we're clear, this is not this is the sort of Android iOS development stuff. That's not exactly my area. So I'm not really sure, but I can tell you that we want to make a secure application, and we're going to make sure that we have the features in there as well. Wait, Duncan, which one did I skip? The TEL liquidity provider rewards. That's going to go to your address. IOTA, will we ever look at staking options for TEL? So I want to share. So yes, that's what we're doing right now. That's you have proof of stake, right? Which is Will just answered the question, by the way, on the Android stuff. But so proof of stake is essentially when people who are securing a network, like miners, are they stake their cryptocurrency in a proof of stake network and agree to perform honest computation. What happens to that stake is it just sits there, right? It's no longer useful. The people who are staking it are securing the network, and they're making it so that they're keeping the blockchain honest in a sense. And a lot of times if they perform dishonest computations, then they get their amount staked, so they have the proof of stake side of it. Well, what we're doing with liquidity mining and the TEL pools is we are doing proof of stake, but it's really proof of liquidity. And what's really interesting about proof of liquidity, unlike proof of stake where you have this stake that just kind of goes away and it's no longer useful, it's just used as a sort of collateral. In the context of proof of liquidity, like the liquidity mining stuff, that sort of proof of staking mechanism itself is useful, right? People can trade against it and make more liquid markets. And so it's exciting because we've evolved as a space to the point where we can create these crazy situations and setups that are basically where you have service providers who are providing value to a network and then earning income, similar to proof of stake, which is kind of the only thing you could do before. Well, now we've got proof of liquidity. And so, we're going to continue to see these things, and Telcoin is going to be at the forefront of that innovation. And we're excited to bring it to market. So. Just know that your salary and all the leisure. What? I don't know what that means. Okay. Are there any other questions? What parting words do you have for those who have their doubts in Telcoin actually achieving this roadmap for this year? Um, I mean, we're confident that we can do it. I think, you know, I think that we're excited to make it happen. We feel confident that we can. I think this is just, you got to remember, this is an entirely new team in a sense. You know, I've also been around Telcoin since the beginning. You know, I also invested in the ICO, and you know, I think that we we just it's a, you know, it really is kind of a Telcoin 2.0 where we're going out and we're making things happen. And as I said, I've never seen Telcoin operate at such a fast level. I mean, as I said, we hired like 6 people in the past 2 months, and you know, we're just getting after it. And I think that our work will speak for itself. And you know, hopefully we don't, you know, have to do the, you know, reassure you guys, because you'll be able to see our work. And yeah, that's all. Any general parting words? Well, actually, let's get to this one. When do you expect Telcoin to be a fully functioning business making profit, not just revenues? That's part of our internal roadmap. Definitely next year, though. I can't really comment on why Claude's not part of TEL anymore, but I think anyone who is in the Telegram chat or has been reading our newsletters, you know, it was a strange situation. But I think that, you know, bringing on the new team and just where we are today is probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Telcoin. And so, you know, but I hope he's doing well. My concern in providing liquidity is the possibility of losing TEL. I still find it hard for a novice. You know, ideally, we get to the point where you don't have to feel like you're going through the weeds to participate in providing value to the Telcoin, you know, economy. And you know, ideally, we can get to a point where it's just simple one-click swaps and pooling. I think that in terms of the possibility of losing it, it's relatively intuitive, and then we've put together some solid how-to guides. And I would love to, you know, chat with you. If you need any help, just give me a buzz. I'm Telcoin Parker on Telegram, and I'm always willing to help. Yeah, and just parting words wise, thank you guys so much for jumping in here. I'm really excited about what we're building in the community. We, you know, really appreciate your support, and we can't wait to bring you know, a really awesome product to market and just keep shipping over this next year and a half, 2 years that we put together on the roadmap. So we're gonna make that happen and more. And feel free to reach out to me at Telcoin Parker on Telegram, Parker at telco.in on email, and P4Cap on Twitter. So thank you so much. You guys are the best. I hope I did okay on my first little video AMA, and as you can tell, never done this before. So yeah, maybe we'll do it again sometime. Have a good one. Thanks.